impressive win for Miami yesterday, punching Ohio State in the mouth right at the beginning in the 12-team playoff format, which means last year and this. Teams with a first-round bye are now 0-5. The layoff not helping performance on the field. These teams are losing by an average of nearly 14 points a game. Now, it's worth reminding anyone who doesn't remember, as we bring our crew in, that this is a different setup than it was a year ago. Last year, we didn't necessarily feel like the better teams were the ones with the byes, and so that was one way that we went about explaining it. This year, the 4 top teams in the eyes of the committee get these byes. So, Josh, again, pending what happens today, and we have to wait and see what happens. There's 3 more games in this round. What does that number 0-5 mean to you?
Still too limited a sample size to know if we've really proven anything here, because I don't think Ohio State would have switched places, even in retrospect, if you gave him the option. I think you're going to watch games today, Greeny, where a lot of teams conditionally are healthier than they've been in quite a while, and some aren't. And a lot of times that bye can contribute to that. But what I will say is the nature of college football right now, the nature of the seeding, of the format, of the rankings, is that, kind of when I used to follow Major League Baseball so ardently, and the wild card team, the 97 Marlins randomly would make a run. By the very definition of who locks down those 8, 9, 10 seeds outside of the G5 teams, you've got a loaded roster that was probably flawed earlier and was forced to do a tightrope walk late in the season and get its act together. And as a result, you get a team like Miami with NFL talent all over the place, 2 losses on the resume, and everyone's doubting them. But they're not playing the caliber of ball at the end of November that they were playing when they accumulated the 2 losses. And that's what you end up facing in round 1 or round 2, as it were, for the teams with the byes. So I don't think the rest is what cost Ohio State. I think Akeem Mesidor and Reuben Bain and half a dozen guys that you're going to be talking about on that draft stage in a couple of months, that's what cost Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State has a ton of those guys, too. They got first-round picks all over the field. But I hear what you're saying. Paul, I'll give you the final word on this piece of it, on the rest versus rust of it all.
Yeah, I'm interested in a couple of other things today because Ole Miss in the late game did not play in a conference championship game. Of course, neither did Oregon. So, those are things to really lock in on. But I think it does affect it because Miami, everyone knows the backstory, but they went into Texas A&M 10, 12 days ago. They won. They had momentum. Ohio State sitting around. They're trying to figure out how they lost the Indiana game. So I am intrigued by this because if we see more of this, then you're going to see the CFP hoobahs come together and go, we need to change it again because if you get a bye, you probably ought to get rewarded. And instead, it seems to be working against the team sitting around doing nothing.
Another factor in it is those teams, the teams that get the byes, don't get home games. Like the 4 teams that played last week got to play a game at home. These teams don't get home games. Look, this is the second year of a system that hopefully is going to be in place for the rest of our lives. It's going to be an evolution. They'll figure things out as they go along. Now, Jordan, I was interested in your notes as I was reading through them this morning. Right now, you like Miami to win the whole thing.
Absolutely. From what we saw last night, this is a team that can beat anybody because of the balance they have. They're a complete football team. There's 2 things that stood out, and I mentioned one of them earlier, the physicality. And I think that's part of this, the bye, the not bye. It's a coaching malpractice if you're not instituting the physicality during that time off. That's what Kirby Smart did, right? Creating game-like environments. So the physicality that Miami has, they were ready for this game, whether they're going to have a bye or not, whether they came off the A&M game or not. The other thing is they can run the football physically downhill with Mark Fletcher, and they have a quarterback that has experience that when he needs to, he can still be explosive. We're not going to, see Miami roll through the next couple games if they do get to the national championship for the next game and him only throw for 130 yards. When they need to be explosive with Carson Beck and Malachi Toney, they will. They didn't need to. The way the defense was playing again early in that game last night, they managed the football game. Shannon Dawson managed his quarterback. They can unleash it when they need to. So this is a complete team that has maybe the best physicality of any team left outside of Georgia in this championship, and they very might well face Georgia. That's why I believe in them, because of how Carson Beck is playing and because of the physicality that they have.
Carson Beck versus Georgia would obviously be a fascinating storyline. Harry, for what it's worth, DraftKings Sportsbook has hypothetical spreads. Miami would be about a field goal favorite against Ole Miss and a field goal underdog against Georgia. So, sort of a coin flip either way. How about Miami? I think the whole country might not have realized how good they were because they weren't part of the mix until the very end there. Do they look like right now a team that could run the table?
Yeah, 100%. It's because of their defense, number one, like Jordan Rodgers just pointed out. But Carson Beck, the way he's playing, he's not forcing the issue. I heard a coach back in the day used to tell quarterbacks, never get tired of making deposits and putting money in the bank. You don't have to hunt for the big play. Throw the ball where you need to throw it and take what the defense is giving you. That's exactly what Carson Beck is doing right now. I will also say this. If they match up with the Georgia Bulldogs, I am not taking the Miami Hurricanes because that is a mental hurdle that Carson Beck is going to have to get over, formerly being the quarterback of the Georgia Bulldogs, now for the Miami Hurricanes.
Okay, so we're on the CFP all morning long, but there was another bowl game yesterday that definitely bared watching, and it's because of that man. It was Michigan and Texas. It was Arch Manning and the Longhorns. The new Michigan coach, Kyle Whittingham, was in attendance as they played the Citrus Bowl, and we're in the second quarter here, and it's Arch Manning looking for Jack Endries from 17 yards.
Yeah, this is a great job, number one, faking the screen, stepping up in the pocket, and then putting enough touch on that football to get to his wide receiver.
Second half, Texas is down 20-17. It's Arch back to throw. No, he's not going to throw. He's taken off and running.
Yeah, this is Arch Manning at his greatest. A guy that has speed, strength, explosiveness, probably the most athletic Manning in his family.
Texas up 24-20. That's quite a statement. Here comes Bryce Underwood now running to the pylon. How about the young Michigan quarterback?
So I like some of the things I've seen from him, but he still, in my opinion, has a ways to go when it comes to overall being a quarterback at the collegiate level.
That said, Michigan takes the lead, but it would be all Arch from that point forward. How about this throw to Khalil Lockett?
Yeah, it's all about ball placement, back shoulder, great job, hands catch by the wide receiver, touchdown Texas.
And look at him.
Oh, my God.
He's just going to give zero fox from this point
I don't give up. You know what, Greeny?
Bryce Underwood picked off by Ty Anthony Smith. Texas celebrating with Bevo. That's fun to do. First play of the next drive, Arch Manning, they're not gonna get him.
But this is an advantage that Texas have. When you have to play 11-on-11 football, when the quarterback can keep it, and then Arch Manning has the whereabouts and also the cerebralness to be able to tuck it, run it, but then have the explosiveness to outrun guys in the secondary. Advantage Texas.
221 passing yards, 155 rushing yards, and 4 total touchdowns for Arch Manning yesterday, concluding what was a season with some ups and downs. Yesterday, he's the second Texas player ever to put up those numbers in a bowl game. We all remember the first, the legendary performance of Vince Young, one of the great performances of all time. So Arch Manning now will have the offseason to get ready for another year. And I've got my NFL general manager, Mike Tannenbaum. I saw someone on Twitter yesterday at ESPN Greeny who tweeted, I'm glad that Arch Manning is not going in the draft this year. Let him enjoy college. Let him live his life however he chooses to live it. But it is my opinion that if he was in this draft, he would be the #1 pick in April. What do you think?
You're right, and let me tell you why. He's a much better athlete than people realize. He has 10 rushing touchdowns, and when you combine that Greeny with his ability to get the ball down the field, he averages about 7.83 yards per attempt, which is a really healthy number for the college game. You put that together with his ascendancy, he would be the first pick because you're betting on the come, and he got a lot better from that Ohio State game on opening day.
It was remarkable to me how much reaction that post got, and it was really sort of split. A lot of people agreeing wholeheartedly, and a lot of people who maybe didn't watch the second half of the season and are just thinking back to the part of this year where maybe he wasn't healthy and maybe it just took him a little time to really hit the ground running. But this wasn't just a good day yesterday. The second half of this year, he played very well.
He did. And if you go back early in the year, UTEP and Kentucky in particular, his completion percentage was like 44%. It peaked at 77% against Oklahoma. And you're right, he got better as the season went on. And that's what you want to see when you're evaluating a player. Is he getting better? We know about his football character. It's off the charts, the lineage. But as an athlete and the whole package, without question, he would go to the top of the list if he came out.
Let me get Jordan Rodgers still handy with me here. Jordan, let me come to you if I can. Right now, Arch Manning, as we go into this offseason, what are the things to say about him ultimately as an NFL draft prospect?
Yeah, look, I got labeled as an Arch hater because week 1 or week 0, I was the one saying, hey, let's pump the brakes. He's not going to win a Heisman this year. He's got time to develop. He has developed, right? He always had what you wanted between the ears, the intangibles of reading defenses, getting through progressions, understanding how to layer throws. Always had that. The athleticism, you saw it last night or yesterday, is elite. Here's the thing, though. I don't think he's a #1 pick right now. I don't think if he came out, he'd go ahead of Dante Moore or Fernando Mendoza. Here's what he needs to work on for next year, because I still think there are a few things in his game. 3 or 4 throws a game, the ball still comes out wobbling and off target. There was a slant he threw to the left yesterday that just went way high and way off target. there's a couple of those throws every game where the inconsistencies of how the ball comes out of his hand still pop up. So that needs to, get a little bit better for him, I think, to be in that conversation for number 1 overall next year. There's still a few things, but man, there's so much to love about his personality, the confidence that has started to come out, and how he's developed his feet, his accuracy, and how his athleticism's been on display late in the year.
Paul, the hype is going to be heavy going into next year, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't think back but to 6 months ago today, Greeny, when a bespeckled, balding, aging former sports writer appeared on your show and made the prediction that everybody hated about Arch Manning being the next Tim Tebow. But he wasn't that. But in the last 2 months of the season, I'm going to give him the Heisman. You can't give the Heisman for the last 2 months, but he was one of the best players, if not the best quarterback in the country. And I think whether he's one or not next year, he is making a smart decision. He's a Manning. Remember, Peyton Manning 30 years ago decided to stay at Tennessee when he would have been the number 1 pick. I think Arch Manning will come back. And yes, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now on New Year's Day. He will win the Heisman next year, and he will be the number 1 pick in the draft, Greeny.
I completely agree with that. As an aside, the year Peyton Manning decided to go back to school, the Jets had the first pick in the draft. So I will never forgive him for that. Josh Pate, Arch Manning, go.
Yeah, it's been funny how warped the timeline has been based on expectation this year with him all year. Expectation does nothing to the timeline. If I've got, a bag of popcorn and the thing takes a minute to pop, it doesn't matter when I put it in the microwave if I pull it out at 24 seconds, but I'm really hungry, Greeny, so I want it. Well, it's no more popped than it would have been if I wasn't paying attention. And what Jordan said right there is correct, because I still think the bag of popcorn, it's been in there about 45 seconds now, so it's starting to pop, but there are still several unpopped kernels. And it's a good thing for Arch that he's in a position where he doesn't need to go to the NFL right now. His family's fortunes aren't depending on him coming out and declaring. Because this time a year from now, God willing, like barring injury and stuff like that, you could be looking at a really, really special player.
Harry, final word.
Yeah, I think when you look at the entire season for Arch Manning, really struggled early on. And I thought Steve Sarkisian, as his play caller, understood as well that, hey, we can't be taking all these deep shots. We have to go short, intermediate, get Arch acclimated to this game. And I believe he progressed as the season went on. His mechanics got better as well. But I think heading into the 2026 season, you have to make sure you give him a run game. Texas is one of the worst running football teams in the SEC in 2025. You give him a run game, you allow him to continue to thrive as a quarterback, and he will win the Heisman and be the number 1 overall pick in 2026.
Bowl Mania rolling on. It wraps up tomorrow on ESPN and ESPN Deportes and the ESPN app. We will have Rice and Texas Tech. That will be in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, followed by Navy and Cincinnati in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. And then we'll have Wake Forest and Mississippi State in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. But before we get to those, we got 3 quarterfinals.